In the early 1960s, the Air Force recognized a need for a new cargo aircraft, one that was state-of-the-art with jet engines and a pressurized cabin. President John F. Kennedy's first official act after his inauguration was to order the development of an all-jet transport to extend the reach of the nation's military forces. The Air Force required that the new aircraft be capable of performing both strategic and tactical airlift missions. Lockheed was given the contract on March 13, 1961. The first prototype, tail number 612775, flew on December 17, 1963, the 60th anniversary of the Wright brothers' first flight. Military Airlift Command took its first delivery in October 1964 at McChord Air Force Base, Washington. Between 1964 and 1969, Lockheed produced 284 Starlifters. Almost all early missions transported troops to and from Vietnam. To increase their cargo capability, Lockheed stretched 270 of the C-141s and added air refueling capability, creating the C-141B model, which first flew on March 24, 1977. In a service life spanning 5 decades and 2 millennia, the C-141 has played an important part in every major military operation, from major wars to humanitarian operations. In the Vietnam era, the Starlifter carried troops to and from the theater. Most Vietnam veterans remember distinctly their ride home on a C-141. When the Vietnam POWs were released in February 1973, they were brought back to freedom on Starlifters. Operation Homecoming still ranks as one of the Starlifter's proudest moments. One of the planes involved, tail number 60177, is still flying today. In 1973, Starlifters repatriated more than 500 American prisoners of war held in North Vietnam. Throughout its career, the C-141 has been often used to bring home our fallen heroes. During Desert Shield, a C-141 from the 437th Military Airlift Wing, Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina, was the first American aircraft into Saudi Arabia, transporting an airlift control element from McGuire Air Force Base, New Jersey. In the following year, Starlifters completed the most airlift missions in support of the Gulf War. They also carried more than 41,400 passengers and 139,600 tons of cargo. 80% of all Air Force C-141Bs were used in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. The rest were flying high-priority missions elsewhere around the world. In 1983, after the bombing of the U.S. Marine barracks in Beirut, a C-141 evacuated 78 wounded. Starlifters brought flood relief to Minnesota in 1979, to the Azores in 1980, and to Louisiana in 1983. When TWA Flight 847 was hijacked on departure from Athens in 1985, a C-141 carried 39 hostages to freedom, including TWA Captain John Testrake. He was quoted as saying, "Shortly after midnight, it was time to head for the airport and that beautiful United States Air Force C-141 that would carry us to Wiesbaden." The C-141 may not be the sleekest, most glamorous aircraft in the world, but on that morning it looked like a gift from God himself. When Mount Pinatubo erupted in the Philippines, Starlifters were there evacuating military and civilians alike. For over 40 years, whenever our nation called, the mighty Starlifter was there, hauling troops to combat, taking food to the needy, shuttling nuclear weapons between bases, flying wounded soldiers on aerovacs, and so much more. In the twilight of its career, the Starlifter has not gone softly into that good night. The 6th Airlift Squadron at McGuire, the last active-duty C-141 squadron, and the 732nd Airlift Squadron, its reserve counterpart, have been very busy during the post-9/11 era. In the summer of 2003, they flew a daily Baghdad Express from Ramstein to Baghdad, carrying combat supplies in and bringing wounded troops out of Iraq. Altogether, these squadrons, with only 6 airplanes between them, flew over 150 sorties into Iraq, delivering 5,675 troops and 6,416 tons of cargo. In addition, the Governing Council of Iraq was flown on a Starlifter to Madrid, Spain, for crucial diplomatic conferences. In the summer of 2004, they flew stateside aerovacs along the routes the C-9 Nightingales used to fly. Many crew members affectionately refer to the C-141 as the Tube of Pain because of all the hours they've spent aloft. Now, after flying 10 million hours, the mighty Starlifter, the workhorse of the Military Airlift Command, is getting put to rest. On the occasion of the retirement of the C-141B, and on behalf of the lives it has saved, the troops it has carried, the noble, unnamed aircrew that flew her all over the world, and the military commanders that have relied so heavily for so long, we can only say, mission accomplished.